Good morning. We look today at Proverbs 3, 4, and 5. And Proverbs 3 is one of those chapters that I always think of verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not rely on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will guide your paths. Those verses were my daughter's confirmation verses way back in whatever year that was. It's been a long while ago. But those verses were also two of the verses that I quoted the first time I went to meet with the candidacy committee when I was, applying to become a pastor. I was asked, what are some of your favorite Bible verses? And of course, everybody's going to use John 3:16, but I used Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, and I just quoted verse 5 first, and then one of the people there said, well, what's the rest of that quote? And so then I had to, respond to the other part. But those are such good words of advice. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not rely on your own understanding. I mean, we don't understand everything. We don't know the meaning of life or what, and then it's, to all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will guide your paths. God doesn't have a set plan for my life. I just don't believe that God has every instant of my life planned out, because if He did, I wouldn't be guilty of so many sins, because He wouldn't have those planned out. But just to acknowledge God and to know that there is a God is important. But Proverbs 3 starts with the words, "My child, do not forget my teaching. Let your hearts keep my commands. The length of the days and years of your life will be abundant." And I've got Deuteronomy 5:16 written in my Bible there as a reminder for, in the Ten Commandments in Deuteronomy, it says, honor your father and your mother, so that the days of your life may be long in the land that you are, so it's, just to remember that, giving honor to God, honor to mom and dad, and, those are just good things for us, to learn the proper lessons, and that's part of honoring God and honoring our parents, is to learn the proper lessons and then to live an upright life from that. And that, again, leads into the Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 with trusting in the Lord. And then verse 7, do not be wise in your own eyes. Don't get too full of yourself. Don't think you know everything. I mean, we all have those people that are know-it-alls, right? But it's a reminder, don't be wise in your own eyes, to know that there are other people that have wisdom and things as well. And, don't get too full of yourself. Fear the Lord, turn away from evil. And then, verse 9, honor the Lord with your substance. Verse 11, my child, do not despise the Lord's discipline or be weary of His reproof. But, it goes on with this is Solomon's wisdom. And then when we go on just a little bit further, he's talking about wisdom in here. Happy are verse 13, happy are those who find wisdom to get their understanding. And she's more precious than jewels. Long life is in her right hand. Her ways are weary. But this is wisdom, to know and appreciate the good things in life. To be able to, observe a sunset or a sunrise, and to just take joy in the day. This morning, it's not real cold out. It's a cool morning. It's a overcast morning. It's peaceful. There's no wind. There's very little wind right here, and it's just to enjoy those little things of life and all of that going around. And just to be wise enough to be content and to just take pleasure in the Lord's creation. I've got verse 29 bracketed. Do not plan harm against your neighbor who lives trustingly beside you. And we all know people that seem to have it in for somebody else, but, don't plan harm against your neighbor, we want good for ourselves, well, we should want good for our neighbors, and to do good for those around. It's it's like the golden rule: do unto them as you would have done unto you. Don't plan harm against them. And the last verse of this one: the wise will inherit honor, but the stubborn fools disgrace. You're scrolling through Facebook, you see a lot of these things that karma came there, and we talk about karma hitting people, and so that the wise will inherit honor, the stubborn fools disgrace. It's that karma that comes around, that it's just the way life is, and the more good we can do in our lives, I think the more good will find us, and the more people will want to be around us when if we surround ourselves with good people and we do good things for them, our lives are just going to be so much more pleasant. Chapter 4 again starts out: listen, children, to a father's instruction, be attentive that you may gain insight. And it talks about, and when I was a son with my father's tender and my mother's favorite, he taught me, and so it's, again, talking about, listening to your parents. And then verse 7, the beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, and whatever else you get insight. Prize her highly, wisdom and insight, understanding, and sometimes wisdom and insight isn't always just knowledge, but it's common sense. It's maybe knowing what to say, but also when to say it and when not to say it. There are so many sides of all of this, but it's just so Solomon asked God for wisdom, and then God blessed him with wealth and with cattle and with lands and long life, and but he asked first for wisdom, and I think that's something that an awful lot of people in our world would benefit from. The wisdom of it kind of goes back to don't be full of yourself with your own eyes. How did that verse 7 read again? My page doesn't want to flip back here. Do not be wise in your own eyes, but again, to acknowledge wisdom and to know that others count on us and our leaders. We really need them to have this wisdom and be able to utilize it and prize wisdom, and rather than just well, this is what I want. And so often this is our motto, and I shouldn't say our motto, but it seems like this is what so many people are talking about. It's the me. It's I can see this and I can but even though it's not right, maybe this is what I'm going to do. And it is such a terrible attitude. Verse 27 of chapter 4: do not swerve to the right or to the left. Turn your foot away from evil. There is there's right and there's wrong. And granted, sometimes it's hard to tell, the difference, but there are the right things to do and there are the wrong things to do. And so it's, do not swerve to the right or to the left. Don't get overboard with something, and don't let the excitement of the moment, get you all caught up in everything, and to keep your eyes open and to keep focused on all things. Chapter 5 again starts with, my child, be attentive to my wisdom, incline your ear to my understanding. And it's, asking someone else to learn from you, from me. And, it's, we see, I learned my lessons at the school of hard knocks, or, good decisions come from experience, and a lot of experience comes from bad decisions, and it is. But there are so many times that we would be so much better off if we could learn from the previous generations. And then, I don't know, this, from verse 3, I'm going to just, from the lips of a loose woman drip honey, her speech is smoother than oil, but in the end she is bitter than wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. And that's not only women. I just really don't like that word is in there, but, it's the snake oil salesperson, and, be weary of false promises. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. And, that's, I've always kind of chuckled at some of these made-for-TV products and TV commercials as to, you buy this and boy, it's gonna, it's gonna be the best thing you ever had. Not so, but, so be wary, be on guard. You use your thinking cap a little bit and be paying attention to those things. Like verse 6, she does not keep straight to the path of life, and that was what we just read in 5. Do not swerve to the right or to the left. Stay on the path. And so it's, my child, listen to me. Do not depart. Again, learn from me. Learn from my mistakes. Learn from so many different things. And then going on, verses 17 and on, let them for yourself alone. Let your fountain be blessed. Rejoice in the wife of your youth, and be faithful. People wonder why marriages don't last. Well, marriage sometimes is work. I've got a wedding coming up this weekend, and it's sometimes we have this glamorous idea in our mind of la-di-da, but it takes work. It takes being faithful, and I'm not saying work as in hard work. Sometimes it is, sometimes, but most of the time it's not. And again, it's to be content, to live faithfully, and verse 30. Why should you be intoxicated by another woman and embrace the bosom of an adulteress? And it goes both ways, But be faithful. And again, it's a part of the wisdom of knowing, a good thing when you got it, and just paying attention and living your life the best you can. And so I better wrap it up there for today. But to think about the wisdom and think about who you learned things from and who is your best example of a life well lived.